All right, so hi everyone. My name is Amanda DeMarco. I am the tech trainer in the Rutherford Market Center. And I thank you all for joining me or catching this recording if you're watching it on our YouTube channel. What I'm going to be focusing on today is the opportunity section of Command, the correlation between Docusign, highlighting the benefits of using the two in conjunction with one another to simplify all of your uploading of the documents for compliance and getting all of your details transferred over with ease as well. As I am going through this, please feel free to pop any questions in the chat. And if you do have, a really important question for something that I'm reviewing at that point in time, just feel free to unmute yourselves and go ahead and ask that question. I also do like to let everyone know that I tend to talk very fast, and sometimes I can talk without taking any breaks. So if anyone needs me to slow down or repeat something, I will not be offended if you interrupt me and say, "Whoa, slow down, what was that?" So no feelings will be hurt if that does need to happen. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And what we're going to do is start within Command. And I already have my dashboard up, and I am currently in one of my contacts here. So I have Paul Rudd's contact card pulled up. In my head, Paul Rudd would be my star client, so I love to use him as an example when I'm doing my trainings, along with some other celebrity friends that have convinced myself that I would work with if I was a practicing realtor. So we have Paul Rudd's contact here. As you can see, I've already put him on a few opportunities. There is no limit to the amount of opportunities that you can create, so never be afraid to create that opportunity. A good habit to get into is creating that opportunity when you first make a connection with your contact. So if you're not 100% sure if you are going to be working with them, or even if they are going to be buying, selling, or renting a property, whether it's with you or at all, we still encourage you to add them in as a contact within the dashboard and create that opportunity. The purpose of the opportunities within Command is twofold. The first is going to be, let me get, here we go. The first is going to be, of course, keeping track of your transactions. So that's where all of your paperwork will be going. This is where all of the compliance will be happening. This is where your commission checks will be requested. That's how we're doing it right now in Rutherford. I know not all market centers are currently fully in Command and Docusign as we are, but eventually we'll all be on that same page. So the opportunities are there for you to keep track of everything going on in a particular transaction. But you can also use the opportunities as a way to build your pipeline and see what you have coming down the road. So I'm actually going to go into our opportunities tab really quickly. That's the little handshake icon. Just a fun fact, you can always click on this red KW in the upper right corner, the upper left corner. It's just going to open up this menu bar to let you know what all of these applets are. So if you're ever confused and not sure where to go, you can always click on this and it won't refresh the page. It's just going to open up this menu bar here. But we are on the opportunity applet. That's our little handshake icon. And once this page is loaded, we are able to see that there are 3 different pipelines laid out for us. The first is going to be for listings. The second is going to be for buyers. And then finally, we have both tenants and landlords grouped under the leases pipeline. So when you are first meeting someone and you're not quite sure what the status is with them, if you're going to be working with them, if they're even going to be buying or selling, as I mentioned before, you still want to create that opportunity because it will be added into these pipelines. So then you can come back and check and see what you have coming down the road. As you can see, each of these pipelines is divided into 5 different sections. They're going to be cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. So this, of course, will mimic the progression of how the deal unfolds. And that's why it is always a good thing to have a lot of opportunities in that Cultivate hub. You can think of this as a place where you can check frequently to, do your outreach to your clients, to see what your last point of contact was with them, to see where they are in these different stages. Once you have determined that this person is going to be setting an appointment with you, they want to learn more about you, you can then move them into the appointment phase. And once they say, Scott, I like you, let's do business together, you would then move them into the active phase, and so on and so forth. I'm going to click in the buyer's cultivate phase. And I'm doing this to show you the default setting as to what your opportunities will look like. So cultivate, appointment, etc. Those are all the different phases of our opportunity. And within each phase, we have different stages. All of these stages can be completely customized to you. The reason I'm showing you the buyer first is because this is going to be what the default stages are in the cultivate. So if you have not done any editing in your dashboard, yours are going to look just like this, where we have watch, nurture, and hot. This may work for you, and if it does, that's fantastic. You never want to fix anything that isn't broken. But if this maybe isn't as in-depth for you, or whatever the case may be, you do have the opportunity to completely tweak these. And I'll show you what that looks like under my listings cultivate stage. So now I'm in cultivate under listings. And as we can see, I have changed my stages to be how many months out someone may be from making that decision on if they're going to be buying or selling or renting a piece of property. I have it done in 12 months, 9 to 12 months, 6 to 9 months, etc. And we've got all the way out to 1 to 3 months here. Now, you may be looking at this and say, this is genius, I'm going to implement this. You may be looking at this and say, this is too much, I don't need it. Either way, it's totally fine. Even if you want to take a little bit of pieces of what I'm showing you and make it your own, by all means, the dashboard is yours to customize for whatever is going to help make you work better for your business. But once we have all of our stages and phases here, we see that it is very easy to see all of our opportunities and where they lie. And as you do your outreach with your clients and you get to know more information and find out a better guesstimate of their timetable, for example, you can actually take your opportunities and move them. So you can simply drag and drop. So if I call Bruno Mars and I'm like, hey, Bruno, how's it going? And he says, you know what, I'm doing good. I'm actually a little bit further ahead in my plan than I was expecting. I think I'm about 3 months out from making my decision. And I would say that's great. So I can actually take the opportunity for Bruno and plop him right in my next stage. So I know next time I speak to him, I have a better idea of how close he may be to making this decision. Did you have a question, Scott?
Yeah, are you limited to four columns per view? Or
you are not. So I will show you where we can go to.
So I can see it all on one screen is what I mean.
Oh, all on one screen.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is the board view. But if you go to the list view, you can see these in a different way. So this will allow you to continuously scroll, so you're not going to see as big of the detail, but this could give you a better idea as to how many, opportunities you have in a specific, sorry, I'm just still letting people in here, into a specific, phase and stage.
Got it.
And if you did want to make any changes, once you are in the particular stage that you'd like to edit, you can click on this Edit Stages button, and this will give you the ability to rearrange the order of your stages. You can add stages, remove them, rename them, etc. You can also designate a probability percentage for each of these stages. And this is simply saying that you're associating a percentage with how likely this deal is to come to fruition. So if you have an opportunity for someone who says they're more than a year out from making their decision, it's maybe about a 5% chance that this is actually going to unfold into a deal. But as we move closer and closer on our pipeline, under active, for example, if they're in the staging phase, you're about 50% there. Under contract, 90%. And then of course, close would be 100% since we know we've got that deal already. So I just like to point out all these different ways that you can really utilize these opportunities and these pipelines to work for you, and not just view them as, oh, this is just a place where I have to upload all my documents. And, you kind of view it with that little bit of a negative connotation. Change is hard. I get it. We've all been there. But hopefully what I'm saying and teaching you is going to help to make these changes a little bit easier and can help you to embrace them a little bit more. Because everything that's in the dashboard is designed to help you. Not everything needs to be done. You don't need to utilize every single facet of the dashboard, but whatever you're working on at that particular moment in time, the command dashboard does try to make it as beneficial to you as possible to help streamline your business, keep things organized, etc. So what I'm going to do now is jump back into my contact card. So we're going to go back to Mr. Paul Rudd. And what I'm going to do is create an opportunity. Now, I could have created this opportunity directly from my opportunity screen. The reason I like to do this directly from the contact card is because when I click on create opportunity, the name of my client is already populated for us. Now, if I was in the opportunity applet and I created a new opportunity, I would then simply just have to come in here and type in his name. So it doesn't matter which way you do it. If you're the type of person that really hates to type things in, go to the contacts and create the opportunity from there. If you'd rather just get it right done then and there on that page, you can do so. Really, the point I'm trying to express is that there are multitudes of ways where you can get from point A to point B. There's no right or wrong way. It just depends on where you are on the dashboard and whichever way you prefer and feel comfortable with. So when it comes to creating our opportunity, the most important thing is ensuring that you have the correct opportunity type selected. I can't stress this enough when we're talking about creating the opportunity. All the other pieces of information we can change later on after our opportunity has been created, but we do not have the ability to change that opportunity type. So if you're working with a buyer and you accidentally create a listing opportunity, you're going to have to then start over and create a whole new opportunity from the buy side. Susan, I see you have a question, please.
Yeah, actually, no, I was wondering if you could mute everybody because I hear someone eating almost as equal as I hear you, if it's possible.
There you go. All good. You're welcome. All good. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, perfect. So yes, selecting the opportunity type is going to be very, very important. So let's say that I am going to be working with Paul Rudd. He's going to be buying a house. So I'm going to change that opportunity type to buyer. I suggest getting in the habit of coming in here and selecting your opportunity type, even if you're working with a listing, since that is the default selection. Simply coming in here and clicking on listing will get you into that habit of selecting the opportunity type, and that will reduce the risk of you accidentally creating a buyer opportunity under the listing field. So just kind of helps with that little programming in your head to get you on autopilot. So I am going to create my buyer opportunity. I do have the ability to change the opportunity name. This is completely optional. It is up to you. It can be a little bit trickier with buyers in terms of what you may want to rename it. So feel free to leave it as just their name and the word buyer. If you are working on a listing, definitely suggest putting the name, the property address, that street address in your opportunity name. So for example, if Paul was selling his house, I could say 123 Main Street, Paul Rudd listing. But for now, since we are using him as a buyer example, I'm just going to leave it as Paul Rudd buyer. As you can see, most of this information here is going to be optional for you to put in at this point in time. The only things that are going to be mandatory are going to be the commission rate. So again, we may be making this opportunity without any indication if we're 100% going to be working with Paul or not, but it is not the end of the world. This can be changed later on, so you can always just input that dummy number. The other information, you can input it if you'd like. If you need to skip it at this point in time, that's no problem. But you do want to make sure you are putting your opportunity in the correct phase and stage. Now we can see that the three options for the phase are going to be cultivate, appointment, and active. You don't have the ability to add them into under contract or closed because the thought behind this is that the opportunity is already created before you guys are even under contract. So that's why you're limited to those options. So let's say that we have an appointment with Paul and we have it kept and we're just getting ready to hammer out some details. Scott, go ahead.
Is that per commission rate per side or total?
Per side.
Okay.
Good question. This is
And do you put in, you don't put in like the, if it's a listing, the minus the listing fee, 275, would you put that in?
Correct. That would go in the commission requests section. So not something you have to worry about when you're just creating the opportunity.
Thank you.
Of course, good questions. I'm going to go ahead and click on create. And now we see that my opportunity is housed in my contact card. So along with some of the other opportunities that I have created, this one is going to populate to the top. And I'm going to click on the name of the opportunity, which will bring me here. Now, this is going to be the basis of everything that revolves around the opportunity within the details page, the documents page, and the offers and commissions page. So on this details page, you can come back and fill in more information as it progresses. So, you know, let's say that we're fast forwarding a little bit in time, we put an offer in and the offer was accepted, so we have that street address. I can simply come to this details page and plug in the property address. I'm just going to put in our office address here, and I'm going to click on save it. Any additional details, you can always come back here and populate as well. And then moving into the document section. Now, if you're in the Rutherford office, you're always going to be met with this message here to select your checklist type before moving on. If you're in another market center, you may or may not see this message, but if you do, have no fear. This is only telling you that you are going to need to select your checklist type. This is simply coming towards the left and in Rutherford, selecting if you're doing a residential or a commercial deal. The reason we have two different checklists is because the required documents are going to be much different for a commercial deal as opposed to a residential deal. So that's why we have two different checklists created. So now that I've clicked on residential, I see that my checklists have populated for me. Now, these checklists are not just here to make sure that you are, uploading all of the correct paperwork for compliance. This is also going to tell you all of the paperwork that you will need signed, not just for our end, but for a legality end as well. You want to make sure that consumer information statement is form is signed right off the bat. Same with the wire fraud and that dual agency disclosure. These are forms that you want to have in your back pocket because they're going to be valid regardless of the transaction or the property that you're putting an offer on or whatever the case may be. So this is telling you that these are forms that you want to get right off the bat. And that's why they are in the consultation stage checklist. Now, the next checklist we have is going to be under contract. So this is where all of the documents would go once you have gone under contract on a property. So this is where your executed contract would be, the business disclosure, your COVID waiver, and a lead paint or a no lead paint form. And then finally, we have a separate checklist for all of your closing documents here. Now, these checklists will, of course, change depending on if you're on a listing opportunity or if you're working with a tenant or a landlord. So it's a great reference point for you to make sure that you have all of your documents and to make sure that everything is being signed and you're not missing anything. Now, when we're looking at my view here, you'll notice two things. One is going to be that most of these forms are going to be underlined and clickable. This means that we have attached examples of what either a completed form or what the form should be filled out with. So let me go ahead and click on this dual agency form, for example. And as I scroll down, we have inputted all of the different information and what should be put in these specific spots. So this is a reference point for you to say, I've never filled out a contract before, or I forgot what piece of information goes here. You can always come back in and check to see what a completed example looks like. Additionally, you're going to notice this little green square that says DS in it. This means Docusign. So for those of you who are on the Docusign platform and have moved away from .loop, I hope that you have a fresh head and have a positive perspective on Docusign. I know it can be a little bit of an adjustment, but it really is a great website and a great piece of software that can incorporate or integrate with Command very easily, and it helps to speed up the process of a few different things, including automatically adding these forms into your Docusign room. So anywhere where you see this DS icon means that we will automatically have the form in the room once you create it. Now, if you're very confused as to some of these terms that I'm throwing out at you, don't worry, we'll get into Docusign in just a second. Now, when you are creating a room in Docusign, you should, and I'm not going to say must because unfortunately it doesn't have to be this way, but you really should open your opportunity first and then click on this Start a Transaction button. This button will automatically bring you into Docusign and it will create a room for you. And that room is going to be connected to the opportunity. So let me show you exactly how this works. I'm going to click on Start a Transaction and it's going to open up a new window for me. And now I am in a Docusign room. We can see the name of my room is exactly the same as I've named my opportunity. The property address has pulled over as well. And all of these required forms have now automatically been added into the room for me. Now, I do want you all to be aware that the MCTTs are aware of this ongoing issue with the word sample coming across the forms. It is something that Docusign and the KWRI tech team is working on. We do know about it. Once the envelopes are sent out and signatures have been received, that sample should go away. If you ever run into a major issue with this, please reach out to your MCTT and they'll be able to assist you with that. But just know it is something that they're currently working on. So what do I mean when I say room? I feel like I should sort of bring it back for a little bit. When we're talking about a Docusign room, we are essentially talking about a separate folder within Docusign. So similarly to how we have separate opportunities within our command dashboard, and we have one opportunity for every transaction, we have a room in Docusign that will keep track of all of our paperwork for every transaction. So it helps you to keep yourself very organized because you have all of your paperwork for one transaction housed in one spot. Now, if you needed to add any additional documents into your room, it's pretty easy to do so. All you'll need to do is come over to this Add button and click on Docusign Forms. This will allow you to look at different groups and libraries to pull any additional forms that you may need. So the libraries are going to be divided up by the type of MLS, by the NJAR folder, which I unfortunately don't have access to, as well as a KW folder. And your groups will be dependent on your market center, but in Rutherford, we have 4 groups set up that reflect the 4 different types of opportunities. So right now I'm working on a buyer opportunity. If I click on buyer's packet, this is going to give me a list of all the documents that I am going to need or may need for this particular transaction. So let's say I needed to add in the commission bill, and for this, example, a no lead paint form. I can just simply click on these check boxes and then add selected, and they will be instantly brought into my room here. Now, you can also do that same process if you have multiple MLS sites. So maybe you need to pull a form from NJMLS, you can come to the NJMLS tab, pull whatever you need to, Garden State MLS, etc. Now, if you are, let's say you're working on a buyer offer and you're going to be pulling a lead paint form off the MLS or a property disclosure off the MLS, and you need to have your buyer sign that, all you would need to do is add the document in manually. So you come back to Add and click on Computer, and then you're able to select any PDF from your computer and add it in just like that. And then when you go to send the signatures out, you can manually place the signatures where they need to be. Now, in addition to having all of your documents here, you also want to take a look at the Details tab. In the Details tab, this is where you can input information, and that information will then be automatically populated into the forms in your room. So for example, let's say I'm making an offer. I'm going to click on this Edit button, and I'm going to make the offer date tomorrow. And maybe I'm going to be offering $400,000 on the property. Make make sure I put 4. Okay, so I want to make sure I didn't put 4 million because that would have been a very expensive purchase for my imaginary example here. But again, you can comb through this, and the more information you input on the details page, the more information will then be populated on your forms. As you scroll down, you will see that some information is taken over from command. So I do have my buyer's name and his email address, as well as all of my information since I am the buyer's agent. So, let's say Paul Rudd is also going to be selling his house with Seth Bergen. I can go ahead and just add Seth in there as buyer 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on save. And when I come back into my documents, Susan, I just saw your question about the MLS. That is a great question. East Rutherford uses Garden State MLS more than NJ MLS. I think East Rutherford can be under either of the MLS systems. I don't have a whole lot of information, or I should say knowledge, regarding the MLS system. So we can definitely talk about that towards the end of class, and I can point you in the right direction as to where to get that question answered. So now I am back in my documents section, and I am going to go ahead and click on the consumer information statement. And once this loads, we will be able to see the sample is gone. And as we scroll down, we do have some information filled in here, including the property address and the buyer agent company. So this is an example of how the more information you put in the details page, the more will then be filled out within your forms. I am going to come into the, can't access some of these forms. Let me just see the affiliated business. There we go. So now we see that this has populated both of my buyers' names since they are both in the details section of my document. The property address has been populated. The offer date has been populated. And then, of course, since I am the buyer's agent, my name will populate here as well. So this is just an example of how you can save yourself a little bit of time by adding some more information into those details sections, because they will automatically populate into the documents. Now, this does work both ways. So let's say I had come in here and the offer date was blank. I could come in here and put in my own date. And I'm going to go ahead and save this. And once this loads, I'll go back into details. And now we see my offer date has changed. So I originally put in 9/1. I had just changed it to 9/4. Because I changed it on the form, it then changed in the details page. So keep this in mind that it works both ways. So even if you fill out all the details and then add all the documents, or fill out the contract and then go back and start filling in the other documents, they will overlap and all of these blanks will fill each other in. And if you do make a change on one form, it will then reflect on any other form where that box is located to populate all of this information. Does anyone have any questions so far about anything I've gone over? No such thing as a stupid question. Let me just check my chat here. All right, Justin, that's a great question. As a new agent, do I create the documents that need to be signed by clients, or does Docusign already have the document created and we just need to send it to the client and fill out the info? Excellent question. You are going to be filling out the forms through Docusign and then sending them for signatures once the forms are fully filled out and ready to be signed. So you would go from form to form and just begin to put in all of this information. Unfortunately, I don't have access to the NJAR forms. I'm not a licensed realtor, so my account is not validated. So I don't have access to all the same forms you do. So I can't give you as good of an example. I'll come back into the CIS form because I know there's a couple extra things I can put in here. So Justin, what you would do is just come in here, form by form, and fill everything in. So let's say, we're putting off an offer in on a house and it's on the market by Coldwell Banker. So I would put their name in as the listing agent company 1. And then this would be the name of the licensee. So this would be my name. And then this would be the name of my brokerage. And then you do have the ability to select off any bubbles here. And then you do save and close. So you would simply repeat that similar process where you can jump in every form, scroll through it, make sure all the information is filled in. And then once it is, you can send them to your clients for their signatures. Excellent question. You're welcome. All right, so now let me show you guys how we can actually send these out for signatures. I am going to delete this one here because I don't need it and it is a PDF. And before we go into the signatures, if you noticed how when I checked off the document, this little menu bar popped up here. This is going to give us a lot of really cool features. Some of them I actually use even when I don't need an actual Docusign related task to be done. I'll show you that in just a second. But this little menu bar will allow you to do a number of different things. So if you need to delete a document, I can simply check it off and delete it from the room. I can also download documents, email them, move them into other rooms. And two really cool features that we can do are combining PDFs as well as splitting PDFs. So let's say we are working with a buyer and I'm getting ready to present the offer to the listing agent. Maybe you want to have all of your documents all in one PDF. So we want to send the listing agent the COVID sale. We want to send them the contract of sale. We want to send them whatever else. Once I click on more than one document, we see this little button pop up. This is the combine button. I can click on this. Well, this is telling me because they're forms, they're not PDFs, so that's why I can't do it just yet. But essentially what I would be able to do is add those two forms into one PDF. So that way you can send the listing agent all of the information, the pre-approval letter, your COVID waiver, your contract, your property disclosure, all in one file. And if you did want to add any additional PDFs into the room, you would simply click on this add button, and then you would select computer. And this will allow you to upload any PDF files that you have saved on your desktop or on your laptop and put them right in the room for you. So there we go. So I just added in a PDF here. Now, in addition to combining documents, you can also split documents. And when I learned this a few weeks ago, I was so excited because I have always had a problem finding a free resource to split documents because you need it to have a special Adobe in order to do that. So let me show you how easy this is. I'm going to right click on this PDF and then I'm going to click on split. Wait. There we go. So now this is going to open the entire document and it shows me all of the different pages. And I have the ability to split this into as many documents as I want in any combination that I want. So, you know, let's say you get a file from your whomever the case may be, and you need to split it up, however the case may be. So we're just going to make up some things here. So let's say pages 1 through 3 are going to be a wire fraud form. I'm going to add a document. Page 4 is our CIS. Let's say pages 5 through 13 are the contract, and you know, whatever other combinations, you can keep going. I can do page 1, page 2 through 4, and then page 7 if I wanted to. So you see how easy that is, where I can group the different pages in a PDF together and split them up. Contract 2. Once I name all of these PDFs, I can click on save. And now we see that they have all been saved with their specific names. So this would be my hypothetical CIS form. Here's my hypothetical contract. I've got the wire fraud form there. So if you're ever in a situation where someone sends you a larger PDF file and you need to split them up into smaller ones, use Docusign. You can create a room for yourself. If you go to dashboard, for example, or rooms, you can create a new room. And I did this. I created a room specifically to split documents in. It may come in handy, but I use this, as you can see, if I'm helping other agents that have this similar issue, I can come in here and divide these forms and help them to get them uploaded into Command a bit easier. So just a little tip that I like to do. And then I have that room easily accessible under my recently viewed rooms here. Can you add a Word document? That is a good question. I don't believe so, but let's just triple check. Oh, I was wrong. So Arlene, I just added in a Word doc. It looks like the preview is being built, so we can come back to that and see what it looks like. Here we go. So this is a Word document. As you can see, I can't make any edits to it, but if you do need it to add a Word document in here, you do have the ability to do so. So now let's go ahead and move into how we would send these documents out for signatures. What you would do is select any documents that you would like to send. So I'm going to just click on these for the time being. And from that little menu bar that pops up, we can then click on the pen icon. This is going to create the envelope. I know that this seems a little counterintuitive. If it was up to me, I would choose an actual envelope for the icon, but I understand that they want to send it for signatures, so it makes sense, but I still wish it was an envelope. But that's just a me problem. So once we are in the envelope, we're going to see that there are two pages that we'll have to go through. This is page one. Page one allows you to rename the envelope. You don't have to do this, but you can certainly do so if you want to. So maybe this is going to be 123 Main Street Offer Docs. Then we can review to make sure we have all the appropriate documents in our envelope. If we are missing one, we can click on the Room Docs button, and then we're able to see all of the other documents that we have in our room, and we can simply just click on one and add them in if needed. And vice versa, if we did need to remove a document from the room, we can simply click on that X in the upper right corner. Now, the most important thing on this page is going to be adding recipients to the envelope. If any of you have found it to be a struggle with making sure all of your signature fields are where they need to be, you feel like it takes too long, you miss some, I can almost guess that you're not using the pre-tag roles, and I'm about to blow your mind because this is the coolest thing and it's going to save you so much time and so many headaches. To add the recipients into your envelope, you will use the pre-tag role option. Please note this is only applicable for a form template from Docusign. If you are uploading a PDF or a Word document, this pre-tag role will not work and you will have to add the signatures manually. But because we have this pre-tag role option, we can then match up the recipients with their respective role. So in this example, my buyer one is Paul Rudd, so I'm going to select him. And my buyer two is Seth Bergen, so I'm going to select him. Now I'm going to click on Add Selected. When I do, we see that their names will show up and their roles are attached to their name and their email. For comparison, I'm going to show you simply adding in a room participant. So I'm going to add myself in here. Now we can see I don't have a role on top of my name. So anywhere where I may need to sign, those signature fields are not going to be automatically populated for me because it doesn't know where I need to sign. So I hope that really makes sense for everyone, that the pre-tag roles are there to help you, and so long as you do have the role in the same box as your recipient, you're in good shape. Two quick notes before we move on to the next page. You do have a little bit of customization when it comes to the recipients of your envelope. you can rearrange the order in which people sign and receive. So let's say you wanted to ensure that your buyer signed before you did. You would change the number next to you to a number 2. Let's say we wanted, me to be the last person and we wanted Paul to sign it before Seth. 1, 2, 3. So now Seth won't get those documents until Paul completely signs them, and so on and so forth. So if you needed to use this before sending documents to your broker to sign or to an attorney, whatever the case may be, that's how you can set that order. And additionally, you can change the designation of that person's responsibility. So they will all be set to needs to sign, but if you need someone to simply view it or receive a copy, you can do that as well. So, if someone's lawyer may just want to view a copy or receive the copy, you can add that on and send it to them as well without requiring them to sign the document. Finally, the last step on this page is simply fill out an email subject line and a message. This is up to you. I personally don't believe it's totally necessary to spend a couple extra minutes doing this. When someone gets an email from Docusign, it's going to say what they need to do. And most likely you'll be texting them right after that envelope is sent, hey, Paul, just sent you those docs to sign. Let me know when you get them. But if you are, want to make sure everything is done perfectly, by all means, please feel free to fill that out. We're going to go to the next page. This is going to be page 2 of 2. And this is where we are just going to triple check that all of the signature fields are in the correct spot. Our forms are filled out correctly. Everything looks good to go. So on this page, we are able to see on the left-hand side all of the different options for our recipient. And this little drop-down menu allows us to select which recipient we will be adding things for. So it'll default to whomever you had added first. So that would be Paul Rudd, and then Seth Bergen will be blue and I am purple. So as we scroll down, we see that these signature fields are already in place. The yellow is for Paul and the blue is for Seth. So their buyer signatures and date sign fields are already placed where we need them to be. And as we go down, same thing here. And finally, same thing here. So that's how easy and amazing this pre-tag roll option is for you. It's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of headache. Now, let's say, perhaps you have a PDF in here that won't automatically populate these signature fields, or you need to add something in addition. You still have the ability to do that. You can select the person and then simply add signature field, an initial field, date signed, whatever you need, wherever you need it. Just going to delete that. And then, of course, you can add a couple extra pieces of information as well, but really these first 3 fields are the ones that you're going to be focusing on. Once we have everything good to go, you would simply click send. So what I just did was I clicked on send, but now the system is telling me, hey, you added a recipient, but there are no signature fields. So this is just, a really nice reminder of how smart Docusign is. This is letting us know, did you forget anything? Very helpful. Luckily for me, I did not forget anything, so I'm going to hit send without fields. And now my envelope has been sent out for signatures. This will then default me back into my room under the envelope tab. And here's my envelope here. So the name of my envelope is the 123 Main Street Offer Docs. I clicked on it, and this is going to allow me to see the status of my envelope. So I can see who needs to sign. I can view the documents, I can view the envelope history, and if I did need to make any corrections, I can do that. Now, this is why it is handy to rename the envelope, which is the very first part of step 1, because if you create a lot of envelopes and they all say, please Docusign, it can get a little bit confusing. So if you're adding in the type of documents or even the date, it can help you when you have a lot of different envelopes to keep all of those ready for you. Now, what I'm going to do is fast forward a little bit of time. We're going to pretend that everything has been signed, everything is good to go, and I'm going to come back into Command. And here is just another example of the beautiful connection between Command and Docusign. When it comes to adding your documents back into Command, all we need to do is click on this Attach Multiple Files button and select DocuSign. Now, these are showing me all of the PDFs that are in my room. This will not show you forms, which are not signed templates. If you did want to see those, you can click on the Show Forms, and then they will show up. But please note that they're not going to be filled out and they're not going to be signed entirely. But because you do have all of the PDFs available, you can then easily match up any of the signed documents within their required fields. So for example, I'm going to select CIS for my CIS, wire fraud. Here's my wire fraud. I don't have a dual agency, but that's okay. And I'm going to click on Attach. And look how easy that was. I was now able to take my signed PDFs from DocuSign and add them into Command without downloading them to my computer, without emailing them to myself, without renaming them, without any hassle. It was as simple as that. And that's because we clicked on that Start a Transaction button when we first created our DocuSign room. You see this button now says Go to Transaction. So if at any point in time I click on this button, it will bring me directly into my DocuSign room that is connected to the opportunity. So I can't stress this enough when you're going through this process. Create your contact, create the opportunity, and then create the DocuSign room from the opportunity. The connection between the two platforms is going to make your life so much simpler, and it'll really reduce a lot of stress. Once you have all your documents here and they're ready to be submitted for approval, you just hit that Submit to MC button, and you would do the same thing for the other two checklists here, and then put in your offer and commission section, which we have a whole bi-weekly class where Reese and I focus on that. So if you ever have questions, we have recordings online, and you're always more than welcome to join us. We do that Thursdays at 1 o'clock. I don't believe there was anything else that I had that I wanted to review with you guys today, but if anyone has any questions or anything that you'd like me to show you again, I would be more than happy to do so. Again, I know I talk fast and I don't take breaks, so if you need me to go back to any point from the training, please don't hesitate to speak up. And if not, that is no problem. What I do want to show you guys is the Bergen County Partners YouTube channel. This is the hub for all trainings and all the recordings. So Chris taught a similar class yesterday. His video is already up here. Reese taught a great class on calendar blocking and time blocking. So that's up here. This class will be up here in just a matter of time. So if at any point you have missed a class, or you want to rewatch the recording, or see anything else, you can always come here and check out these newly added videos. And we are also working on creating a lot of playlists that are going to house smaller, shorter videos. So for example, Docusign topics. There we go. That was a mouthful for some reason. These are all going to be shorter videos for very specific questions in Docusign. So Justin, great question. Docusign isn't going to tell you which forms you send the client per se. For something like that, follow the checklists within the Command opportunity. So these checklists are going to tell you all of the documents that are going to be required, anything that's conditional, anything that's optional. So you want to follow these checklists to make sure that you have all the documents signed correctly. All of these documents are available within DocuSign, with the exception of a filled out listing agreement, so to say. If you're working with a listing, NJMLS, for example, you can actually fill that listing agreement out on NJMLS and then simply upload it into Command. There are very few and far between instances like that, but every other document you will be able to access through DocuSign. And just come back here and check to make sure you can see everything that is required, because those are going to be all of the required documents that you'll need in order to complete the compliance check and ultimately be paid out. What I'm going to do is put my email address in the chat box here. So if at any point in time, any of you have any additional questions, I would be more than happy to help you out. Of course, the MCTT in your market center is available as well, but please don't ever hesitate to come to me. I'm always happy to answer any questions that you may have. And I hope that everyone found this class to be beneficial. I know we covered a lot, but hopefully you all feel a little bit more comfortable using Docusign and really understand the connection between the two. And it'll just help to make you work a little bit easier and a little bit better, and kind of put your mind at ease, because as I said earlier, new things can be a bit stressful. So please don't ever stress. The whole team throughout the 5 market centers, we're here to help you with anything that you may need. And with that, I thank you all for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in a future class.